example, is not going to be repeated in North Korea, and a few other topics as well. Watch.
It would be disconcerting to the North Koreans to see the Libyan example, and I think it's part of getting a deal. I hope there is a deal in North Korea, but I think we will have to reassure them that, yes, this will be different than Libya, and that this will be a deal in which, if you give up your nuclear aspirations, as well as your nuclear capabilities, that there is peace and, in all likelihood, as the president said, prosperity.
Are you concerned at all about the president saying that we would offer protection for him?
Well, I think it may be overstating the case. Protection maybe from us invading and having regime change. That's what happened in Libya. The West did invade Libya. The West did affect regime change in Libya. And it's been a model that resonates with all up-and-coming nuclear powers, Iran, North Korea, that they wonder about our sincerity. It's also why some of us have argued it's a bad idea to get out of the Iran agreement, because it sends a signal that we're not going to be consistent in following through with our agreements.
All right, I want to ask you about Gina Haspel. You voted against from the very beginning. You were very adamant that you were going to vote against. What are your concerns now that she will be the CIA director?
You know, I think the confirmation process at least gets candidates to say things they hadn't said previously. She did finally come out and say that she thought that waterboarding didn't work. She never got to the point where she said it was immoral, but she got closer to where a lot of us think we ought to be, is that it's not what we are as a people, you know, that torture and waterboarding is really not what we should be doing. But I'm still concerned about the reports that Trump was surveilled. I asked her several questions today, and she did deny that the CIA had anything to do with the British intelligence. And in the end, she actually said to me, and this is supposed to come in writing, that she says that there was no communication between the British intelligence and John Brennan giving them information about the Trump campaign. If that's true, it contradicts a lot of news reports that's out there. I hope it's true, and I hope she'll actually put it in writing. But today she denied to me that there was ever a meeting between British intelligence and John Brennan where information about surveillance of the Trump campaign was transferred.
Yeah, that was a very, very interesting exchange and an interesting question on your part. Are you disturbed by this New York Times piece that came out last night that says that the reason that there was a counterterrorism investigation even opened up was because they really didn't have any criminal charge, so they opened a counterterrorism operation sort of in the hopes of finding something?
I've been troubled from the very beginning that I think people were dishonest in the intelligence community to go after President Trump based on a dossier paid for by the Clinton campaign, and they didn't tell the judge it was paid for by the Clinton campaign. That sounds like lying from the get-go. It sounds like an agency run amok with maybe feelings of hatred towards the president. And so, yes, I've been very worried about bias at the CIA, and I want to make sure that it never happens again.
All right, you had the gumption to come up with a bill that would actually balance the budget and cut the budget by $13 trillion over 10 years. And we have a Republican Senate majority, but only 21 senators actually voted for anything that looks like a balanced budget deal.
Herein lies the problem. All of these Republicans go home to their Rotary Club and they say, I'm for the balanced budget amendment. And the balanced budget amendment balances in 5 years. So I gave them a chance to see whether their promises to the people are correct. Remember, they also promised to repeal Obamacare, and then 6 or 7 of them changed their mind and refused to vote to repeal Obamacare. Now today, 30 of them, or close to 30 of them, wouldn't vote for a budget that balances in 5 years. And I want to correct one thing. It's not a cut of $13 trillion. It was a cut of only $32 billion per year. That's the 1%. When you say $13 billion, you're saying against proposed increases. So cut $13 trillion of proposed increases, but from a baseline that starts with what we spent last year, it's only 1% a year, $32 billion.
Is there anyone in particular that surprised you in that vote? I know Bob Corker did not vote for it. Lindsey Graham has said he thought it would decimate defense spending. That's why he didn't vote for it. Did they surprise you, or anyone else in particular surprise you with their vote?
No, I think Lindsey is typically a dissembler on these things. He said it would affect defense, and it had no cuts in defense. It said you had to cut 1% of the total, but it said the appropriations committees could decide where to cut it. Now, the appropriations committees could have said it would be the defense appropriations, but that's very unlikely since the Republicans control it and don't want to cut defense. But the bottom line is you do have to look at military, non-military, and entitlements, the whole ball and wax. And if you cut 1 penny out of the dollar, it would balance. But I think this shows the hypocrisy of many Republicans who say they're for balanced budgets but are unwilling really to take the tough vote.
All right. So no one in particular that surprised you with their vote?
No, I think it was kind of the standard. The establishment, for the most part, voted to keep the established ways of massive deficit spending and trillion-dollar deficits exactly like we had under the Democrats. And that's the disappointing thing. We promised to be better, and now I gave them a chance to try to be better, and yet the establishment Republicans said, no, we like the status quo.
Very interesting. Senator, always good to talk to you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we have several other big headlines that are breaking this evening, including possible criminal charges in the Obama administration's handling of the Hillary